Hi, I'm Mr. Kangas, and today we're going to be taking a look at Chapter 6, Section 9, Percent of Change. And in this section, we're going to be taking a look at how to find out what the percent of change of something is. So over time, did you have an increase in percentage or a decrease in percentage, and how do we figure out what that increase or decrease was? So a lot of times you might see this in business, the percent of change of profit, for example. Did I have an increase in profit or a decrease in profit, and what was the percentage of profit that I gained or lost? So did I have a 20% increase in profit, or maybe I had a 36% decrease in profit? How do you figure that out? Well, it really boils down to the new data and the old data. So for example, maybe we're talking about growth, maybe we're talking about height, maybe you're studying some sort of animal or a child, or maybe it's a tree, and so whatever it may be. And let's say that it started at 4 meters, okay, and then it grew to 5 meters, and you want to know what was the percentage of change, and was that percentage an increase or a decrease? Well, if you want to find out what the first things first, you have to figure out what was the change. How many meters did it change? So you're going to take the new, so here's the new, or the current, or the present, okay? Here's the new, and here's the original. It was at 4 meters, okay? It is now at 5 meters. So here's the new. So you're going to take the new, and you're going to subtract it from the original. Or you're going to subtract the original from it. So you're going to do 5 minus 4, and you find out that there was a change of 1. So this represents the change. Now this does not represent the percent of change. This just represents the change. It changed by positive 1 meters. So right off the bat, we know it's going to be a percent of increase, because the answer we got was positive, which means there was positive growth. Now if the answer we got was negative, then we would have a decrease. A percent of decrease. So how do you find out what the percent of change was? How do I find out, okay, I know he grew 1 meter, but what percent of change is that? How, in terms of percentage, how much did he grow? Okay, so what you do is you're going to take the change, which is 1, okay? He grew 1 meter, and he was 4 meters. So you're going to make that ratio. You're going to put the change over the original. Okay? Because he grew 1 meter, he was 4 meters before, so that change represents an increase of, if you do the division, or if you know what 1/4 is, if you do 1 divided by 4, you can get it. You get a 0.25.
That's the boys' 8th grade basketball team. They should change up and go for their pitches in the library.
Okay. You would get 0.25 for your decimal, and then to turn that into a percentage, we would move the decimal over twice. We discussed this in previous sections, and so you would end up with a percentage of 25%. Now, just real quick before I discuss this a little bit further, I would like to point out that we could also use the lesson from Chapter 6, Section 8, and if we want to know what this is as a percentage, we can use the percent equation, which means that this fraction is equal to what fraction over 100? Cross multiply, we get 4x equals 100. You do the one-step equation, which would require us to divide both sides by 4. And so x would equal 25%. Okay? So 1/4 is equal to 25%. Okay, so remember, we found the change, which was a positive 1. Okay, we had positive 1 meter of growth. We were originally at 4 meters. Okay, so we grew 1 meter, which means we grew 25. We had a 25% increase in growth, because the 1 is 25% of our original height. Okay, So we are 25% bigger than we were before. Okay, so that's really how this works. It's not too much more difficult. I'll do another example just in case we're having trouble catching on. We can go, okay, let's say you have some kittens. We have 24 kittens, and we end up selling a bunch of them because obviously we can't afford to have 24 kittens, and we now have 7 kittens left. Okay, I want to know what is the percent of change. I've gone from 24 to 7. So here's the original. Here's the new. So again, we're going to take the new minus the original to figure out what the change is. We want to know how many kittens changed. How many kittens do we gain or lose? So we're going to do the new 7 minus the original, which is 24. Anytime you see subtraction, we always keep, flip, change, KFC. 7 plus negative 24, which gets me an answer of negative 17. So because my answer is negative, that means I'm going to have a percentage of decrease because I have less kittens than what I started with. I started with 24, I ended with 7, I have less kittens. So now I want to know, what is that percentage? Okay. So we're going to take the change, which is negative 17, going to put it over the original, okay? Because I had 24 kittens and I lost 17. That was my change. My change was a loss of 17. Okay, and we can do the percent equation if we want. Okay, put the x up here. You can cross multiply and you get 24x equals negative 1700. Okay, so then you would need to divide both sides by 24. So we're going to end up dividing 1700 by 24. 24 goes into 170. Oh, let's see, for 6 times, I believe. 6 times 20 is 120 plus 24 is 144. So we're going to borrow here. We get a 6. We get 2. So nope. Goes into it 7 times. So 144, 164, 168. Left with 2, drop down to 0. 24 goes into that 0 times. Drop down another 0. And 24 will go into that 8 times. And so we're going to round it right there. And we're going to stop 1 decimal in. So x would equal roughly a negative, because remember this was a negative 1700, right? It's a negative, we have a percentage of decrease. X is going to equal roughly a negative 70.8% decrease. Okay? So like I said, sometimes when you're doing those one-step equations, the numbers are time-consuming. It's time-consuming to figure this out, but it's not necessarily difficult. For some people it's difficult because we're not super fluent with our multiplication facts and mental math. But depending on who you are as a student, I may or may not allow a calculator during the section. You're going to need to ask. Most likely I will let you know ahead of time if a calculator is okay or appropriate. Most students though, I do not allow to use calculators on sections like these. So that's really all there is to this section. You're just going to be finding percentages of increase and decrease, following this same method over and over again. There are no real variations to this. The only thing that's going to change is the labels. You might go from kittens to talking about money, to talking about speed, to talking about teachers, students, animals, whatever it may be, height, all kinds of things. So if you have any questions on how to find the percentage of change or percentage of increase or decrease, let me know. But really the key thing to remember is it's new minus original to find the change, and then it is change over the original. Turn that fraction into a percentage. Okay, so this equals change. So if there are any questions at all on this section, please let me know, and I will do my best to help you out. Otherwise, tune in for chapter 6, section